Let's talk about the Sphinx in the New Kingdom era, thousands of years after it was originally built. We know around the First Intermediate period, the Giza necropolis was abandoned, and eventually the Sphinx was pretty much buried up to its neck and shoulders in sand. It would have looked similar to how Europeans saw it when coming to Egypt in the early 16th to 19th centuries. But let me introduce you to what some scholars say is the quote-unquote first Egyptologist. A young pharaoh Thutmose IV, when he was just a prince, gathered a team and went to the Sphinx and essentially decided to excavate it. Now, obviously, this isn't like excavating in the modern way that archaeologists do, but they were essentially able to uncover the front paws of the Sphinx and most of the chest of the Sphinx. Here, he actually built a shrine that was housing what we call the Dream Stela, an inscribed granite slab that tells the tale of this restoration. Let me read you a short portion of the Dream Stela. The royal son, Thutmose, being arrived, while walking at midday, seating himself underneath the shadow of the mighty god, i.e. the Sphinx, was overcome by slumber and slept at the very moment when Ra is at the summit of heaven. He found that the majesty of this august god spoke to him with his own mouth, and as a father speaks to his son, saying, "Look upon me and contemplate me, O my son Thutmose. I am thy father, Harmachis Khopri Re Tum. I bestow upon thee the sovereignty over my domain, the supremacy over the living. Behold my actual condition, that thou mayest protect all my perfect limbs. The sand of the desert whereon I am laid has covered me. Save me, causing all that is in my heart to be executed." The Dream Stela literally tells the story as to why Prince Thutmose decides to excavate the Sphinx, and that he fell asleep and the Sphinx told him, "Hey, I need you to restore me to my greater glory." And I just love that story because while the dream is, I don't know, the dream could be true, but it also just gives us that kind of insight that the ancient Egyptians saw these people, the Old Kingdom ancient Egyptians, as even more ancient as they were. And it's thousands of years in between them. So it's just so interesting that he kind of was like, I might as well try to restore this, try to help myself by helping my ancestors. The Dream Stela is unfortunately not intact, but I think it's very interesting that it uses this name Harmachis Khopri Re Tum with literally Khopre, even though it's kind of spelled weird, is literally Khafre, who built the Sphinx, and that obviously they had enough records to know that this was associated with Khafre at that time. Because a lot of this, unfortunately, preservation problems is possibly happening after this period because it was buried in the sand for so long, and it actually helps kind of preserve the Sphinx. After this time period, we do know that the Sphinx becomes associated with the sun god Hor-Em-Ankhet, and Pharaoh Amenhotep builds a temple next to the Sphinx for this god. It is also possible that one of the Ramses, probably Ramses II, took over an actual second excavation in the late New Kingdom to kind of restore this Sphinx.